Welcome to another episode of the Expat Investor Podcast. As always, my name is Tom Pewtress, Head of Global Proposition here at Skybound. And today I am joined by, I'd call a very good friend, and he's been on the show before, but welcome back, Peter Gollogly.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me back.
How are you doing? You're in Geneva today, Pete. So I'm here in Dubai, you're over in Geneva, but thanks to the wonders of the internet, we managed to get together on this podcast.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm in Geneva office today. Sometimes do need to check where I am from day to day, given the travel commitment and whatnot. But yeah, I'm in Geneva today in the office. And thanks for having me back. It's been a while actually. You must have been.
Yeah, it has been a while. It has indeed.
If you're rolling me back out, you must have been struggling.
Absolutely not. And for those that may not know, Peter is our Director of Financial Planning here at Skybound Wealth Management, has been with the business for many, many years and really is a true inspiration to a lot of us, or many of us, if not all of us in the business, and everything that he's achieved. So we're going to learn more about what Pete's been up to in his career, and we're going to talk about a few things that we're doing here at Skybound in order to continue to grow the business and attract people to the industry. So, first of all, Pete, I think the starting point today is what drew you to the industry in the first place.
Good question, Tom. Pretty simple to answer actually. Travel, the ability to kind of combine work with the ability to travel was the big one. I didn't do the kind of international university thing. I never stayed at student halls. That's not really my cup of tea. So I did stay at home when I was at university. But what came with that was a willingness from my side to kind of, once I had graduated, to then kind of catch up on those years where I hadn't travelled. So for me, it was important to join a company that gave me the opportunity to travel. Where I travelled, I wasn't overly bothered about. And nothing against my home city of Glasgow, which you would tell from the accent. But, at that point in time, I'd spent 21, 22 years at home, and I felt as though I needed to kind of scratch that itch. And that really, the opportunities I had on the table were, to be quite frank, were bigger companies that you'll know, blue chip companies and financial services. But I was pretty much confined to working in Scotland for at least the first 3 years when I'd done my professional exams. This opportunity came along and gave me the ability to pretty much, to travel immediately. So,
and what were you studying at university at the time, Peter?
I was studying business at Strathclyde Business School, University of Strathclyde Business School. So anyone that's been...
And did you feel that your friends were all going in the similar direction, to kind of that was the trend, and did you feel that you were doing something different? Was that difficult for you to do or not? Well,
interestingly, actually, I was the first. So I was actually an intern with the company. So I was rejoining the company when I moved. I was the company's first ever intern, and very interestingly, to answer that question, I was actually the first. Let me get this right. I was the first intern. Or the first student rather to do an internship in the Middle East in Strathclyde Business School's history, which is an institution that's been going for hundreds of years. Obviously, the Middle East is kind of gathered pace, as you know best, but nobody had ever been, over there to do a proper structured internship. So I ended up going to Doha for 3 months. With the company, and then basically went back. Wasn't really set on joining the company. It was an option that I kept open. I wanted to see what the other opportunities were. But when the door was opened to travel and go to another country full time permanently with the company, that was the one that I opted for. So I think that probably answers your question about how unique at that point in time it was for someone to do an internship, and then in their first year of being in the industry, actually leaving the country. So. Yeah, it was a pretty bold move, and as I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment, it's I've done all right at it. So I think it was
so that being a major milestone and the first milestone in your journey. But just so the listeners have an idea, and I think we touched on this previously when we caught up. But what milestones have you hit through your journey with Skybound as your career's progressed?
Oh, I mean, look, I'm 12 years in, right? So there's been a lot. As I say, I started as an intern and I've kind of moved up throughout. So there's been a lot, Tom. Probably if I was to kind of narrow it down, passing the 10 year anniversary for me was a big thing. You'll know as well as I do that in the international wealth management space, you do come across, our peers that have been from company to company, for their own reasons, sometimes good, sometimes not. But having that, kind of one company on my CV, post university, is not the norm. It is quite unique. So there was a sense of, real kind of pride and satisfaction of kind of getting through that 10 year mark. Now I'm actually 12 years this month. So I'm hopefully I'll be sitting here in 8 years' time talking to you the second. And actually a colleague of ours and a good mate of both of us, Ryan Donaldson, actually he only this week passed the 10 year
Wow.
window as well. So well done, Ryan. For me, that was that was a big one. There's been kind of academic achievements along the way, of course, as again, as the satisfaction. I don't particularly like or enjoy sitting exams. I know some people do.
Sure.
For me, studying doesn't really excite me or come naturally to me. So there's been some, passing, my diploma, sat an exam as recent as this year for the European equivalent, and obviously kind of achieving chartered member status for a professional body was nice. I think if I was to say any, the 10 year milestone, and then the obvious one, the second one would be when I was invited to sit on the company's kind of board and executive committee. At a relatively young, fresh age, despite maybe not looking at.
Never, Pete. You've never looked better.
That was that for me. That was obviously a massive thing.
Yeah.
To have any form of kind of input, big or small, to the direction of the company, the global kind of businesses, was a huge honour and privilege, and it's something, a position I still hold at the moment. It's hard, don't get me wrong, it's difficult, because the one thing I've never wanted to change is my ability to continue to work with my own clients.
Sure.
Continue advising. That's what I've spent many years getting qualified to do. It's the part of my job that I love. So anytime I take on another role, it's got to be something that I can do in conjunction with, and so far I'm still managing to kind of do both, and it's the variety is awesome, and and let's see what the future brings. But they're probably the two main ones: the kind of passing the 10 year threshold, and the kind of the latest promotion to the company's kind of exco was they're the ones that stand out for me.
I had a couple of questions about Skybound over the years has certainly demonstrated an ability to onboard young, hungry individuals into the business and help them carve a career out for themselves. I think sometimes we put a lot of energy into that. Why do you find that we've been successful in doing that, and what's that kind of entailed when we're taking those types of people into the business?
I think it's one of these ones. I heard a good analogy from one of our product providers, actually, that we're a company probably not too dissimilar to that institution, that we're big enough to matter but small enough to care, and what that allows you to do is kind of work on a basis of meritocracy. I'm an example of that. You're an example of that, and there's many other examples of that. And I think for anybody looking at kind of coming into a business that's ambitious and wants to, not be an employee number for the first 5-10 years until they kind of get partnership or directorship, this is a perfect kind of situation for that. I think what we've done well over the years, and this is not just from an advisory perspective, this is probably, even if you look at the exco, there's three of the exco members have actually joined the company at a junior capacity and have kind of organically grew and now sit with effectively kind of C-suite job titles and have thrived throughout. So I can only look at it from my perspective as to what do I look for when I join a company, and it was, the ability to travel, yes, and at the younger years, but it's then, can I make an impact? Can I grow within? Can I, being with this company for the foreseeable, and how are they going to develop me as well as me adding value to them. So it's a kind of two-way street. And like, obviously 12 years on, I can only kind of talk from a Skybound perspective, but I couldn't speak highly enough of, if you're good enough, you're old enough. If you're qualified, you'll get your move. And it really is a kind of heartbeat of the business. I think you probably agree with that.
No, for sure. And I think you look at some of the success stories that we've had as a business, and you've told us about 3 there with yourself, Josh and Hussein, all making it through the ranks over many years of hard work and labor. But it's also reflective in many other parts of the business as well, including that of the advice arm of the business, and those that come through looking to be full-time advisors. Again, I think when I look at it and I look at the amount of people that have come into the business at a junior role, done their exams, we seem to have really almost by now default created a career pathway from young up, if that makes sense, or from new in, and pushing people in that direction. And Ryan, you mentioned Ryan earlier. Ryan is one of those success stories, right? Ryan came into the business very young. You'll know far better than I do. I think he spent a lot of time with you in those early years doing the hard graft.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think it's testament to the business in many sense, and this is what I'll probably throw it back to yourself in a degree. Is one thing that we have in the company is we've got a lot of selfless people, a lot of people that are prepared to give a lot of time nurturing, developing, managing other people. Really good, really good industry leading trainers, and that's what I would bring you into it, Tom. Obviously we've worked together for many years as well, and that ability to kind of bring people in, exercise patience, obviously getting the recruitment right helps, because you've got to be able to work with an element of, kind of base level skill set and whatnot, but bringing them in, being patient, kind of moving them through the business. More often than not, the recruitment is normally around getting people through that pathway, as you called it, kind of to advisory, but not always. We've got some of the best paraplanners around, administrative support, business development support. But irrespective of what channel they go down within the company, they're given the time, the patience, the skills to thrive. And I think that's why it's been a real success, kind of a culture within the business to kind of develop our own, rather than automatically kind of opening your checkbook and going to market to try and headhunt or recruit. There's an element of that, of course. Experience comes at a cost, and every business needs that blend of youth and experience. But some of the most important people in this business have been nurtured through from a junior capacity, and now hold some really key roles with the company.
Yeah, I think when I look at it again, Pete, you've proven it time and time again, and like you say, by now I think the company has done this enough times, almost by accident, to create these pathways and keep pushing people and ultimately developing this moving forwards. We're now at a point, and you'll be able to tell me more from here, as I think this is very much with you today, and due to the success that you've had with nurturing talent. But are we at a point now where we're formalising this moving forwards? Is this is where we're going as a business? This is what we're now being able to learn from and take that ourselves up. We're good at this, and there is a bit of a self pat on the back for this, and because of those success stories. So what does the next phase of bringing people into this business look like for Skybound?
Look, we are good at it. I think I think every business will have its strengths and its weaknesses. One thing we are very good at is nurturing talent. There's no doubt about that. And you're right. I think having had a good enough sample size now is to how we really kick on and grow. From my perspective, I want to be clear here. I'm not shutting the door to people, knocking on the door from other companies, and of course we'll speak to anybody that's wanting to talk to us. But for me, when I look back, and I look back at the success. I look at people that have come in and been nurtured through. So I think it would almost be remiss not to kind of throw some more resource, time and funding around that, making sure that it's slicker. You mentioned the word accident. Effectively, what we've ended up with for the last couple of years is almost like an accidental academy.
Okay.
You mentioned people at Ryan. We've had the people like yourself that have come in, not come in as part of a bulk recruitment. You've came to the business through whichever way you've came and have been very, very successful. But when you start to move people through in bulk, a BDM, a cluster of BDMs that have kind of really demonstrated that they've got to a level where they've outgrown that role, you start and putting some proper training in place for them, a mentorship program, a buddy system, an examination policy that allows them to get their academic qualifications up to scratch. The natural progression for that then is moving into advisory if that's where they want to go. So I would say probably for the last this will be the third consecutive year that we've held an academy quote unquote academy intake, and I think all bar one has really, well, is very much still with the business, and is kind of almost plug in and play. They're doing their thing, they're working, they're enjoying it, they're flying around the offices, they're client facing, they're qualified from diploma all the way up to almost chartered level. It's just working. And as I say, it would be almost madness not to kind of feel that fire really, to the point where we're at a stage now where we've got to put a kind of fire under it and kick it on, and it's very much the intention of the company's kind of leadership team to run with a really well branded, a branded, well run academy, whereby we're able to kind of recruit and attract the best of talent up and down the country, bring them in and train them up and get them into market.
And if people are listening today and thinking that this definitely sounds like an exciting business, this is a business that's going forwards, what type of background or experience are we looking for, or should someone should have to be able to apply for this? What if I'm sat at home today, what am I thinking? Do I qualify? Do I have the right background? Is this something that I'd get into? What are you looking for?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the obvious answer is a first class university graduate from XYZ university. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Don't get me wrong. There's people in the business, myself included, that have came via the university route. But when I look at the team, take Europe for example, who's probably got the youngest, kind of most successful grad kind of results, if you like.
Sure.
I look at people that have came from industry, they've came from trading backgrounds. I look at people that have came from mortgage advice. I look at people that have came from recruitment. I look at people that have came from the military. I look at people that have came from the academic background. There is such a wide range of backgrounds whereby people, all roads have led to effectively the same company in the same region. So the short answer to you is there isn't a specific, if you're interested in talking to us, we'll talk to you. The one thing I would say, irrespective of your background or what you've done as a career to date, you've got to be passionate about financial services. You've got to, it's got to be almost like a borderline hobby to you, if nothing else. You've got to be passionate about it. You've got to have a willingness to learn. If you don't come from that academic student background, if you like, you've got to be motivated by, yes, the travel, yes, the job opportunity, yes, the potential earnings in the future, but you've got to fundamentally enjoy the industry, if you like, the wealth management, the investment side of it, the financial planning side of it. You've got to enjoy dealing with people because it's a very people-orientated company. It's a very client-driven proposition. So yeah, I mean, I would say they're more important to me than what you've done before you've kind of walked through our doors.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there one common thing that all of the people that have been successful through our accidental academies historically, and I think you are right when I look at the group of people that have progress through the company, they all do have a passion. They all do have a fire in their belly for helping people understand financial circumstances, planning better for their financial futures, and then being able to take that back, work with the investment teams, and deliver good investment advice as a result of it. So yeah, I think from my point of view, passion is clearly the number one driver for people that need to think about applying to work with Skybound. What are you doing this year, Peter? Are you doing outreach programs? How are you building the awareness of Skybound this year for people to get on board, come and see us? How are people being made aware of what we're doing today?
Yeah, it's a complete contradiction of what I've just said there. But this month and next month, we're actually attending 3 or 4 graduate fairs. You know, look, it's an obvious place to start, right? If you're looking at a certain demographic of person, you know, the one place that kind of brings those people together under the one roof where we can have as many conversations as possible as, you know, kind of graduate job fair. So we're in attendance at a few. We've booked a few in Scotland, but we do accept other nationalities, I promise. We do have a large Scottish contingency, which is not all my doing. But yeah, no, so we're up and down the country. We'll be speaking to people coming out of university, whether that's for a position now or whether it's for kind of at the end of the summer when people have kind of got their final year out the way. So that's obviously the first thing that we're doing chronologically. That's the next thing that we're doing. But look, we've got a recruitment team here that are happy to engage through the usual channels, Tom. You know, LinkedIn. You know, our details are online as well. You can reach out to us. We've got a careers page on the website which will kind of show you what the application process looks like and how you, if nothing else, get in touch. What I will say is, nobody wins from me taking people on that we just fundamentally don't think is a good fit. It's not good for the company, but more, it's not good for the candidate. It's a false start, really. It's I've been doing this long enough now. I've trained and developed you know, countless people. I know what works. I know where there's enough there to work with, and I know where there's not really. So one thing I will say is to kind of put people at ease is, if you don't know but you like the sound of it and you want to chat, then very quickly I'll be able to identify, or some of the team here will be able to identify if this has got legs for you. We know we're not going to finish the articles. You know, that's not the point. You won't be the finished article. You're not going to be a fully qualified, professionally qualified, you know, super mature individual that can go straight into, you know, talk to clients about their, you know, 40-year pensions. You know, we get that, but that's where the mentorship comes. That's where the buddy program comes. That's where the, you know, the funding from the exams to make sure people are, you know, are up to speed on that front and suitably qualified. So yeah, okay. You know, there's various ways to get in touch, really.
All right. So as we come to a close, and I appreciate your time, and I know how busy you are with both clients and the business requirements, but if there was someone starting out in the financial advice business today, here at Skybound, what would be your one line of advice for them to take forward?
Sprung that on a little bit. Probably pick the right company. Pick the right. I don't think you can undervalue the importance of getting the right fit for you as you make that first step into industry. I actually don't think it's confined to just our industry. I think it's most industries. I think you're very moldable at that point in time. One thing that we have is an incredibly high work ethic, and I don't think that's any bad thing when you're kind of coming from that student lifestyle, or not. But predominantly I was a student, so I can say, you know, I thought I was the busiest guy on earth when I was a student. No, you know, you don't realize, you know, a 2-hour lecture and I was not busy. You know, so, you know, I think picking the right company that's going to instill the right kind of metrics into you, the right habits into you, I don't think can be underestimated. Now, obviously, I'm going to sit here and say that, you know, Skybound ticks that box and we develop our people and we put a lot back in. But of course, there's other companies out there that do likewise inside and outside of our industry. But pick the right one. Do your due diligence. Speak to the people. Ask the questions. And make sure that you really find the first home that you find is the right one for you. And if it is the right one for you, take myself as an example again, the chances are it'll hopefully be your place of employment for many years to come.
Perfect.